There were 4 things I liked about SmackDown from Friday night. I enjoyed the tri-branded women's battle royal to determine a number 1 contender for Bayley's title at the SummerSlam. It did not drag on too long. There were enough new faces in there that I enjoyed it. And I'm going to tell you exactly what the finish got me thinking and where I hope that they're going with it at the pay-per-view. I'm going to get to that in a second. I enjoyed the backstage Mandy Rose promo. Looking right into the camera, staring a hole in Sonya Deville, dropping fire on her for cutting her hair. That was the best promo of Mandy's life. And the hair versus hair match is now official for the SummerSlam. I enjoyed the continued singles push of Big E. He's racking up wins. He had another one here on this show. Again with the stretch muffler for the finish. That and his rally the troops speech in the back after Retribution came out early in the show I thought was really good. So I'm enjoying it's still early, but I'm enjoying the progression of the Big E singles push. And last but not least, I got 2 words for you. Joseph Park. I never thought I would see the day after he signed with the company to be an agent. And they didn't at least give him a Royal Rumble cameo as the Monster Abyss, which as far as I know, he would be allowed to use. Impact, if you remember, started giving guys the right to take their name and likeness with them if they left the company. That's why EC3 was allowed to be EC3 in WWE. Now, a lot good that did him, but if we are to believe and assume that he is allowed to be Abyss, I was shocked. I thought, it was the perfect time. Let him have a cameo in the Rumble. It's the same thing they did with MVP. They brought back MVP to try out as a backstage agent, as a producer. What did they do? The first thing they did was they gave him a cameo in January in the Royal Rumble match. It was very brief. He got dumped out very quickly. But they gave him a Royal Rumble appearance. They gave him a match on Raw the next night. And then they were going to transition him to an agent. And Paul Heyman, I guess, liked him so much as a performer that he ended up being on TV, and now he just signed a new multi-year contract, so good for him. I wish they would have done the same thing with Abyss. I guarantee you, if he would have come out at the Rumble, for the people who would say, well, nobody knows who he is, nobody watches TNA. Really? Well, tell that to all the people that went nuts when AJ Styles walked out in 2016. I'm not saying Abyss is on the same level of stardom that AJ Styles is, but AJ Styles spent, how many years did he spend in TNA? Before he left. 15, 16 years of his career. He spent a very small amount of it in New Japan. And when he came out, the place went nuts. So yes, I do believe that if Abyss had a cameo in the Rumble that year that he signed, he would have gotten a nice reaction. And it could have been a one and done type of thing. So that disappointed me when that didn't happen. That surprised me. At that point, I kind of gave up on the idea that they were really going to do anything on camera with the guy. He is an older guy. He's not a young stud anymore. It's a little painful to watch him walk. He walks like a guy who has been through some wars over the years, right? He's got a lot of wear and tear on that body, all the hardcore stuff. But I was a Park Mark back in the day. When he started doing the Joseph Park gimmick, the brother of Abyss, looking for Abyss, he just showed up randomly on Impact one day. That came during a period where I was still watching and reviewing Impact on the podcast every week. And I fell in love with that character. I loved it. And there he was on Friday Night SmackDown this week as a lackey for AJ Styles. There's a lot of history. If you are an Impact fan, you know the history. There's history in the ring between these two guys from the Impact days, from the TNA days. But there he was, in the suit, in the glasses. AJ even referred to him by that name. I thought it was great. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I never thought we would see the day. Now, I don't know if this was meant to be a one-time only appearance. For his facial expressions alone, I could see Vince McMahon falling in love with keeping this guy on TV. And you know what? I hope they do. I hope they do. I'm happy for him. Getting TV time like that on Fox, I enjoyed that. Now, the Retribution stuff on Monday night was lame. The stuff on this show was marginally better. We at least had the talent fighting back this week and acting like they cared about this group that had invaded their home. So that was an improvement, but I don't buy into this angle. I am not sold on this angle. Again, maybe there is a big clever reveal in the end that makes me go, oh wow, like I didn't see that coming. Fair play to WWE. But I just don't take any of this seriously. None of this feels like any kind of great threat. I just have found this incredibly lame so far. Michael Cole actually said at the top of the show that the group is hiding behind current events. Yeah, no shit. No shit. That would be WWE, by the way. Hiding behind current events. I love how they try to shift the blame over to the group. Well, you know, they're hiding behind current events. Don't blame us. It's not our idea. The Women's Battle Royal. The Women's Battle Royal on this show, to crown a number one contender, included Asuka, who's already challenging Sasha Banks at SummerSlam for the championship. Shayna Baszler, Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, Naomi, Lacey Evans, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, Tegan Nox, Shotzi Blackheart, Nikki Cross, Bianca Belair, Dana Brooke, and Tamina. Sasha, I don't know where Carmella is, but Sasha and Bayley were on the outside observing before the match, and they were cutting a promo before they brought all the women out for the Battle Royal. And in the middle of the promo, I think it was Sasha, just casually dropped the fact that they are going to be defending their tag team titles at Payback. Now, you guys know about Payback on August 30th because I told you about it, because it's been all over the internet. And I talked about it on the podcast last week and maybe even the week before. So if you listen to podcasts, if you watch YouTube shows, if you read the dirt sheets or the websites or whatever, then you already knew about that. But as a viewer on the show, where you have to assume that people don't know these things, what a stupid way of announcing the Payback pay-per-view. No explanation whatsoever for it. Just, we have to defend our titles at this pay-per-view that they are now having a week after SummerSlam. That was literally the first mention of it on TV. They didn't try to tie it into a story on TV where somebody would be looking for Payback for something. It's just, no, we're having this show on the 30th called Payback. Okay, great. Good to know. So Lacey eliminated Naomi. 10 seconds later, Lacey got eliminated by Shotzi Blackheart. So now she got dumped. Evans then pulled Shotzi out of the ring. So she was gone. Shayna Baszler picked up Tegan Nox for what looked like a gut wrench and almost dropped her on her friggin' head. That was scary. The ropes saved her. The ropes saved this woman's life because Shayna basically fell into the ropes and then was able to adjust herself. Tegan was my pick. I didn't even know who was going to be in the Battle Royal, and last week I think I mentioned that Tegan Nox was my pick. And of all people, Dana Brooke eliminated Tegan Nox. So it came down to Asuka and Shayna Baszler in the end. 2 Raw stars. And they want to have another draft in October, as if this is some kind of big deal that we're supposed to care about. They got Raw people on SmackDown, SmackDown people on Raw, NXT people on Raw, NXT people on SmackDown. They got the Nexus Ninjas who are pretty much, they go anywhere they want to go. But let's have a draft. As if that even fucking matters. Let's have a draft. Asuka was on the apron. Baszler reached over, put her in the Kirifuda clutch. Asuka maneuvered her out over the top rope and to the floor. Very similar to the way Baszler lost the Women's Royal Rumble match earlier this year when Charlotte was skinning the cat and Baszler walked over and Charlotte got her in a head scissors and propelled her out over the top rope to the floor. Asuka wins the Battle Royal and punches her second ticket to the SummerSlam. Asuka went from never having a singles match ever at SummerSlam to now having 2 championship matches in one night. It will now be Asuka challenging both Bayley and Sasha Banks individually, I guess, in singles matches. That does not speak very well, by the way. I know it's part of a storyline that they're doing, but it does not speak very well to the state of the Smackdown Women's division, that on one of the biggest shows of the year, they have decided to have the same woman from the other brand challenging for both belts. But I don't mind Asuka getting the spotlight like this because she deserves it. She is the best in the company right now in either women's division. And she's one of the best in the company, period. You have to put the women's label on it. She is one of the best in the company, period. She belongs in the spot that she is in. I said a few minutes ago that I had an idea for how they can play things out here. I don't like the idea so much of them doing individual matches, which is what they're currently planning on doing. Maybe on TV this week it changes. As it stands, it's a singles match for the Smackdown Women's title and a singles match for the Raw Women's title. But when I saw the end of the Battle Royal and I started thinking about how this might play out at SummerSlam, the first thing I thought of was WrestleMania 2000. And if you remember at WrestleMania 2000, there was a triple threat match between Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and Kurt Angle. And Kurt Angle came into the match a double champion. He was the European champion and he was the Intercontinental champion. And he was forced to defend both belts in this triple threat match. The first fall, oddly enough, which you would think the first fall would be for the European, and the second fall would be for the IC, which I guess in the pecking order, to me, the IC was always above the European. But for whatever reason, the first fall was for the Intercontinental. And I believe that was Benoit who won that. And the second fall, which Jericho won, was for the European title. And that was how they played the match out. And I remember them doing the match that way, which was kind of odd. But I kind of like the idea of them maybe borrowing from that formula and doing that at SummerSlam and getting all the women in the same match together at once. So what you would do is you would have Asuka win the Raw Women's title in the first fall. Because to me, in the pecking order, the SmackDown Women's title, the bigger story is with the SmackDown title. Sasha Banks has only been the Raw champion for a few weeks. Bayley has been the SmackDown Women's champion for over 300 days. That's the bigger story. So Asuka wins the Raw Women's title back in the first fall. Sasha then pins Bayley in the second fall to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. Shayna Baszler could run down. Doesn't have to, but she could run down for the distraction or to attack Asuka before Asuka has a chance to win the SmackDown title. So she's already won the Raw belt. The match continues. Here comes Baszler. Because remember, Shayna Baszler warned Asuka on TV a few weeks ago. She said, you go ahead and you win that Raw title at the SummerSlam. You go ahead and you win that championship. Because I'm going to be the one to take it from you. Then here on Friday, Asuka eliminates Baszler, which can't sit well with her. Shayna was this close to becoming number one contender, and Asuka took that away from her. And that's bad enough that Asuka already took from her the shot at the Raw title. Now she's hogging the spotlight and taking the shot at the SmackDown title. So absolutely there is a built-in reason there for Shayna Baszler to be upset with Asuka and to want to, in some way, screw her over. So she stops her from winning both belts. While all of that is going on, though, Bayley is distracted and Sasha could surprise her for the win. She just pinned her best friend and took her championship. Then at Payback the following week, we already know they're going to have to defend the women's tag belts. You can have them drop the belts. Bayley is jealous of her friend. She's jealous of Sasha having two belts. It used to be Bayley 2 belts, and now it's Sasha with both belts. And Bayley has only the one. And she is immensely jealous. They end up losing the belts. The story is Bayley is not just pissed at Sasha for what she did to her and taking her belt, but she's jealous. She's jealous. So, don't look at the title change from SummerSlam, if it happens, as the end. But you look at it rather as the next chapter in a story that's going to really continue to play out for at least a few more months. And, look, they could still do the big blow-off match between Sasha and Bayley at WrestleMania next year. But they've got to keep the story moving. There's going to be Sasha and Bayley matches before they ever get to WrestleMania. They just can't, they can't keep pushing this off. They cannot, I don't think, that they should just stall and not do anything until WrestleMania next year. I'm all for long-term storytelling, but to keep things interesting, I don't think they're going to be able to hold off on that first match until April or March of next year. I just don't think they're going to be able to do it.